And let me share my screen. So what we'll see in this is the third session of this course. And what we will see in this third session is how to work with Auth0 and integrate Auth0. And um, Auth0 has done some amazing things to make easy the integration, but it relies heavily in something new that I haven't explained for this course that is called dynamic routes. So as part of the objectives, learning objectives of this course, I will explain what is dynamic routes on Next.js, and then why it's easy to work with them on Next.js. And it's actually a 4-line course. Hi, Liliana. Happy to have you here.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm a little late. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. We just started.
Thank you.
Because we are working with Auth0, we need to set up MB files, but I also explain how MB files work on Next.js, super easy. And then why you need to have the whole flow of sign in, log in, and log out on Auth0, which is basically accessibility. And then we will do the session of checking understanding that we have been doing on all. So I want to start with some pro and cons about using Auth0. It's not that we are using Auth0 only because it's an industry standard. It's because they have done a bunch of work on making easy the implementation of Auth0 for developers. And when you use Auth0, you basically are taking all the security best practices and put it on them, not on your plate, which is huge because you don't want to have that responsibility. Especially if you are planning to have something bigger and need to think about at the same time on security and scalability. It has some cons. It's not a perfect solution. It has a learning curve also, and they keep changing their product. So I swear to God, it's like every 6 months you need to check what is the new version of their product because they keep changing. The good news is that they update their documentation, and their documentation at this moment is almost perfect with examples and everything, but they change it everything every 6 months. Like there are, the learning curve is constantly, basically, is a constant there. And of course, we are gonna use the free tier because nobody wants to pay for this one. But the customization in that free tier is it's only, you can change a logo is basically the only thing that you can do. Like you cannot do like all the customization that you could have if you want to have your own brand and everything in the free tier, which sometimes it should be considered. So before we can jump to do the Auth0 implementation and working with code, Auth0 implementation in Next.js relies heavily on something that is called dynamic router, which is a characteristic for Next.js. It's something that they create when you have this situation. Imagine that you are creating an app, which will be your blog, but then you don't have, we know that if we create a folder inside app and create a page JS, we have basically created this as a router. But in a blog situation or in a user situation, you don't know the URL of that because it could be the user, I don't know, 15 or the user name or the blog. The user will have a title there for their blog and they want that title to be in the URL. You mean what happens when you don't know the router of the thing that you want to create? So Next.js thought about that and create dynamic routes. And I sharing this. Oh, let me share the first thing that I want to share that I forgot to share last time is that you will find everything this and my repository. It's the same repo that we are being working all the sessions, and the third session slides are here, so you have access. You can follow that. Putting this in the chat just in case that you haven't. And the reason I'm putting this is because I include the official documentation for dynamic routers because they explain very well what is the idea of working with a router that you don't know how will be. Basically is that if you are working with something with a router that you don't know, you create something that they call dynamic segments. And dynamic segments are just things that goes into brackets. And that's it. With that, you can dynamically change the URL of the folder. I'm explaining this at high level, but I will show you this on Auth0 because we will need to create a dynamic router for Auth0. It's just that I don't want that you confuse that dynamic router come from Auth0. No. That's from Next.js. Auth0 use it and take advantage of that functionality. But this works for Next.js in any case that you need to create something dynamically. With that, let me show you the code. So let me bring the code that we have that we did previously on this workshop. So I haven't running my server. So if I go to localhost 3000, I will see it. And I change a little things. So I can show you here. First, I finished the navbar. So if you go to the navbar component, the thing that I did is created the image using the image component. I create this image with the logo, and that will be my link to home. So now if I go to agenda or speakers, this was the section that we did last week. I can go back to home very easy on the logo. It's just navigation based practice. You have to have something that gave you back to home. And then I created this basically on the page, on the home page. I create this main section with that hero. It's basically just a huge div with some text, an image that I create with AI. And you can recognize that because the text in the image is funky and funny. And then I have this button that registered now, which is the button that I want to use with Auth0. So you see the bottom here. I'm doing just the classes on Tailwind. We learned it last week how to do this. Okay, so now I want to, before you can implement Auth0, I always recommend people that think what is the flow they wanted. So I wanted that the user register here, and basically that will be the Auth0 button for the login. And I want to make sure, like, I don't want that the user have a page for itself. Like, there will not be a /user, like localhost 3000 /user page. I don't need that because this is a conference. But then I will say that the agenda, you will not be able to see the agenda of the conference if you are not registered. That's the flow that I want to create. So with that, you need to go to auth0.com. That's the URL that you have to remember. And then here on product, you can go to universal login. And just click get started. On team, it will ask you for sign up. So I will use my Google account because it's the Google account that I have with all the functionalities. And that will bring you here to this dashboard. You need to go to here to applications, go to applications. I have a bunch of applications already working, but you can always create a new one. So you have to put it a name. Let's do conference landing. And then here we are gonna go on regular web applications. And when you create this one, here it allows you to select a bunch of technology. You just need to select Next.js. And as I tell you, their documentation is really, really good. They invest on teams and developers working on the documentation. So pretty much the only thing that you need to do it is follow the documentations. So the first thing that they tell you is that you need to configure. So it's get your application environment files and configure your callback. So let's do that. So on the application keys, they will give you everything, the MV local, and you just need to copy this and put it in your MV local. But we haven't done an MV file on our file. So you need to go back to your code, and in the level, in a terminal, in a new terminal, in the level where you have your config files, you can see that we have here the Tailwind and the CSS files and the package JSON. At this level, you want to go to create with touch a .mv.local file. So when you create it, you will see it here. This is the file that will allow you to set all your environment variables. So you just need to copy the things that they give you with some instructions. Here for the Auth0 secret, they tell you that you need to run this command to generate this 32 bytes string. So you need to do that. You need to copy what is inside the brackets, which is a bash command, basically. So you copy that, and it will give you this huge 32-bit string. You need to copy that one, and then you replace everything that is inside that string with the string that you have now. And I'm recording this and I'm putting this, but I will delete this because, again, it should be a secret. You don't want to have these variables on the open under. So for the people that is following the video, just remember that these are not true anymore at the moment that you are seeing the video. But now you have your MV files working. And then the second, so we did this already. And the second thing that they told you is that you need to configure the callback URLs, and they give you the URLs. So you need to copy this one and go to the settings, which are here, but I will open in a new tab. Well, you cannot do that. And here in the application URIs, you will see a section callback URLs. You need to copy that one. And then in allowed logo URLs, you need to copy the localhost 3000 for now without the slash. And you have to be aware that they cannot have that finish in slash. We will throw you an error at the end. Make sure that you save change, and then you go back to the documentation, because it's really following this, the only thing that we need to do. And then we already this one. So now we can install this one. So in that terminal that is not having your, I have my terminal with the server running here, but I have opened a new one, and here I can do the installation of the Auth0 package. And as soon as that ended, they tell you that you need to, you can create now the dynamic route, and they tell you which one do you have to create. So this is the thing that I was explaining with the dynamic route, because this section, it has brackets. It actually goes to all these routes. It changed to login, logout, callback, and me, because we are doing the dynamic, we are relying in the dynamic routes of Next.js. So we need to create this path. So we are gonna go to our app, and we create a folder that is called API. And that folder should have a folder that is called out. And that folder should have the dynamic route. So between brackets, you will do Auth0. And in that folder, you are going to create the file route.js, which is what the documentation team asks you to do. And then you can create, you just copy this one and paste it here. And if you want to double check that you created this router in the way that they are asking you, you can always go to copy relative path and double check here that you are following all the routers that they tell you. And we are. The source is just because Visual Studio goes one level up. But that's how you know that you are creating the router in the right direction. Now, when we have this, they tell you now you can create the link. Oh, well, you have to create import their hook for the Next.js, for bring all the information of the user provider as the documentation is telling you. And this should be on the layout root component. You already have that. So basically you need to import this on your layout. You see your layout is where you have your navbar and children and everything. So bring that import, and then they tell you that you need to grab everything about with the user provider. So let's do that with that component. So you will involve everything with the user provider component. And that will like involve all your app around the hook of the Auth0. If we save that, so far the app hasn't changed because I haven't created the login link here. But now they tell you, now you can do that. And the only thing that you need to do is create a link with the login. Now I don't want the login. I want to have that in my button, in this button on the register. So I will go to that page, which is the page, the main page for this one. And I will change the button to be that Auth0. And everything that will go to here, it will be handled dynamically for this router, because that bracket will be replaced for whatever you needed in the URL. So as soon as I do this and I save and refresh, now if I go to register, it automatically connect with Auth0. And it's just 4 lines of code, which is super cool. And when I accept this, the thing is that nothing changed, and I'm working here on Firefox. But let me show you the cookies on. So if I bring this for a minute in Chrome, because Chrome allow you to see the cookies that you are handled in a session, you will see how easy it is to see what is the session bringing to the whole app. So I haven't registered here on Chrome, and Chrome doesn't know. So if I do expect element and I go to application, here in cookies, I don't have anything because I haven't registered Chrome. But as I click here, I immediately see the app session and the cookie, which is super cool. And now I can use the things that I want to use because I have that cookie and that session working, involving my whole app, which is amazing with only 4 lines of code. Remember that the only really thing that we did is in the router handle this. There's 2 lines of code actually. Pretty cool. So now I was telling you, I don't want to have a user, but I want that when the user click in the agenda, they only see the agenda if they are registered. If they are not registered, they will not see the agenda. So that is very straightforward too. I just need to go to this router. So I will go to the agenda page and change here to work with the user, which is also something that they tell you in the documentation. Like if you want to keep just working with the documentation, they tell you here how to work with the user. So you can copy pretty much this. Let's copy this one. So I need to do the import, and then I need to bring the const user as a hook. And then what I will do is basically, well, I can copy the is loading and is error just to manage the errors. But my real logic here will be that if the user is not registered, it will not see the agenda. So I will just have a sentence here. And I can do a little of JavaScript because if there is no user, I will show something. Otherwise, I will show another thing. So for now, if there is no user, I will show a little div that say, sorry, you need to be registered. You need to log in. Let's do login in order to see our super secret agenda. And because now I have this user, I can do something very similar, but at the same time different with this one. And it's basically a div that say, hello username, because I will bring that from this user hook. here is your agenda for your conference. Let's do this only to see if this is working. So because I already registered, and it will tell you immediately, because you are using a user hook, you need to create a client component. So let's do that. We already know how to do that. It's only use client. And because I already registered and I have this cookie in the session, it brings automatically my name and it says here, hello, here is your agenda. And now we came to the second part of the flow, and it's how I can see when I'm not registered again. I don't have just yet the logout button. And the thing is that because it's my conference and it's my app, I don't want to have a logout button other than here. So like I don't want to have the whole thing. And my problem with that is that this component is the home of the whole situation, and I cannot use a client component here because this is my page component, which is here. This is my home. Like I cannot use client here because then I broke it. It will work, but then I'm not respecting the best practice of making use client components just live of the whole situation. If I do my home, I use client, it will work. Like Next.js will not tell you you cannot do that. But then I'm not following the best practice immediately because I put a client component as parents of everything, which some parts are server component. And you remember for the last session, never put a client component as a parent of a server component. So I want to keep this as a server component. And the cool thing is that Auth0 knows that, and it tells you how to work. Like they have something to work in server components that are not hooks. You remember, like you will see that this one is a hook, very similar to use state and use router, the old use router. But here they have something different, and they tell you it's basically a promise, and you have to work this in a sync await. So if you want to incorporate, because I want to incorporate this in my home component, the thing that I want to do is I want to create this. I need to bring this import. So I will bring the import. And now I need to bring the user session. So I will have another function here with export default. It will be a sync function because this is that gate session is a promise. So I need to work with and I will use the same function because the thing that I want to, so I just want to have one. When you are working with React components, you can only have one export default. So I will move this declaration of my function here only because I'm now working with an async function. And then what I can do is I will create a variable. It's as simple as doing a variable that will call session. And that will be the away part of my promise with the get session promise. And then I need to put whatever is from that session in a user. So I can say const user it will be whatever is in session that user or null at the beginning. And if I have that, I don't need, I can move the return here. And that's it. That's how you work with Auth0 in a server component. And then I can use that user too with some JavaScript. So I will say, if there is no user, the same thing that I did in the other component, in the agenda component, something will happen. If there is, something will happen. So if there is no user, this is the thing that I want to happen, right? That they need to register. But if there is a user, what I will happen is something very similar, but with the logout. So the user will have the possibility of logout. So here I will say log out, and I will change to register to logout for now. And that's it. That allows you to, and now you see the logout here. And as soon as I go logout, I will not see anything on the agenda. And as soon as I do the follow again, I will see the agenda. And because this is working with, let me show this on Chrome that I show you. This flow is better to work on because here in Chrome, you can see the cookies. So I have here the session and I'm seeing the logout button, and in the agenda, you will see the username. But as soon as I do logout, let me go back to home, and I do logout, I lose the cookie. And Auth0 does that for you. And of course, I don't see the user that it brings on the whole application. Again, that whole application, that cookie that involved the whole application, is because we put it in the layout, this user provided. It's basically a whole component that involve your whole app. So the whole app knows about the user that is registered or not. Now, in all fairness, and because we're following the best practice of Auth0, let me show you here, my flow is not technically correct because here on the register, and the thing is that it's handling, it's only creating the login. So in all fairness, you should have a space for sign up. If the user haven't created an account with you for the first time, you should create an option for the user to log in. But as I'm telling you and I showing you on the code, it's not mandatory, and Next.js doesn't complain, and definitely Auth0 doesn't complain if you don't have the whole flow. It's not even part of the documentation. It's just best practice and accessibility, especially best practice on accessibility, because this button for the people that is following the page on those devices that read something, they will read the link as login, and they will not read as a sign up. So at some point, if you want to create an app with all the best practice, you should also, like this button should say, not register now, it should have say login. And you should create another one that say pretty much the same twice, but with sign up. And then the link is not Auth0 login, is this one, sign up. And if you want to do that, you need to update sign up. Yeah. So now you need to update. See if we can see it. Let's see. And then you need to update your hook, this little hook that is in the router component, to handle not only Auth0, sino handle login. And if you do that, then this will create a object that will handle the sign up with the handle login. And it's a hook that handle an object. With the authorization params will be screen hit, and that will be sign up. And that's it. That allows you to have the sign up, which then will have the opportunity of logout or login. Again, this is only for accessibility, so maybe I don't need both of those buttons. So when the user is login, I can change my logic here at some point that if the user is login on this sign up, don't show anything. So I just need to put here a null. And then I have pretty much the same flow that I originally have it. It's just that for accessibility, again, you need to have the option of signing or login. And you will see that in pretty much all apps in the wild west that is web. Questions so far? Doubts?
I think I didn't get the difference between the sign up button and the login button. What is happening?
Yeah,
with
the thing is that
Auth0?
Auth0 is super fast with Next.js, and I think it doesn't show. But you see how when the documentations tell you, you see how the sign up button will, this is the login button. So it believes that you already give permissions.
Oh,
And
I
that
see.
it recognizes that you already have an email and a password, or that you are logging with your credentials. But you should have the option for, it's the first time that I'm seeing this thing. So I sign up for the first time.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Got it.
So,
Thank you.
So here in the sign up, this will show you something similar that says you already have an account login.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great question.
Yeah, I do have one that is more from the beginning. It's related to the ports. Do you recommend that we use the 3000 just to follow the documentation and don't have errors? My ports and my machine are at a mess right now. So I'm actually, my last page is running in one that is totally different. So I was wondering, like, if you recommend or this is a best practice to just do the 3000 because the documentation is placed that way, or we should update all these links and
Well, the thing is that by default, Next.js give you this port and then all the documentation and all the thing is thinking that you are using this port, but it's actually totally up to you that you can customize this and don't work with 3000. And you can do that for all the app without problem if you are using 3000 for another thing. Like it's common that you are working in several projects and you're already using 3000.
yeah, but mostly my question is like if I see that we use a lot to call this port. So do you think? But I'm thinking maybe I'm wrong. They might be easier to change to this port because other pages that I have in a different port, I have only set up once and I never use it again. So that's what I don't even remember what is the port that I set up. But this one, it looks like with all these steps that we need to do, maybe we will less we
It's
will have less chances to have errors. Just
exactly that. The thing is that you have less chances to have errors if you follow the 3000 port.
without.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
you're welcome. Again, this is the whole session for today. It's just you follow the things to understand for today, why and are using Auth0, the pros and cons. And for me, it was important that you understand that dynamic routes are not Auth0 configuration. They are a Next.js property now. It's only that Auth0 relies heavily in that capacity, which is very cool because all the things that are working with this router that is in brackets, this is the same login, logout, sign up, all the options. And you don't need to create a folder for each one of them, which if you work with Auth0 like 1 year ago, you have to do it manually. Like I have in my GitHub a project with all these things manually created because we didn't have that with React app. There wasn't that functionality. Then how to set up environment variables on local host on Next.js, which is something that we also need if we're going to work with a database, which is the thing that we are going to do next week. And how to work Auth0 on client components and on server components, because Auth0 for Next.js implementation realized that sometimes you don't want to use Auth0 on a client component, which is the example that I put it here. I don't want my whole app be a client component because that breaks the whole purpose of having an Next.js server component. And with that, let's do the process that we are always doing of checking understanding, just to work on this final thing that I want to work for all my courses. Thank you so much, both of you, for bear with me on this one, this activity.
I can go first.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned today was about the dynamic routes, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is specify the dynamic route using the square brackets.
Yes, exactly. It is super easy and straightforward, and I cannot believe how easy they made it, this whole thing. Eliana, you want to tell me something that you learned today?
It was a lot, but I guess my question about the ports to me was important because I could like I think make a lot of mistakes. So I never really thought about it until right now that I tried to run my local host, but I was like, oh, let's have something else there. So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Mine was not set up to 3,000. That's why I noticed. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Okay, yeah, thank you so much for coming to this session. Let me stop sharing my screen. Again, I will share this on Monday, the video, the recollections of the things that we learned, and the slides and everything will live in my repo, in my GitHub. So if you want to follow for next sessions, you will find everything there.
Great. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.